Hey everyone, so today's video is actually on probably the best legendary character in the game that isn't light and dark, and that's Nero. He was one of the season heroes. They've done 4 season heroes in this game. What that is they take this special event where you have a chance to summon the hero, this seasonal hero, and if you don't pull it on your first try, you have a 50% chance to get it on your first try. But if you don't get it, the next one will be guaranteed. And so on and so forth, right? So you can get multiple copies of those heroes pretty easily, the more stones you have, which is why I have the 4 heroes that were seasonal, which were Geralt, Giranol, Ashlyn, and Nero, all pretty highly ascended, right? Yeah, so these were the 4 heroes, and all 4 of them were great. But I do think Nero is the best at all of them, as hard as that is. And I think you could probably make a case for Ashlyn on being the best. But in my opinion, Nero is, because I think his aura from his trait, it just puts him just a slight step above Ashlyn. But anyway, let's just talk about him real quick, and then I'll get into how I have him built and other ways that you can build him. So he has this trait that says it gains Frost Guard before receiving attacks for the first time in each round. So whenever he's attacked, he gets this plus 50 defense automatically, right? I think it's plus 25 defense when he's not ascended, but mine is, so it's showing that Frost Guard too. So if he's attacked, he automatically gets plus 50% defense. It's bonkers on its own. And then on top of that, if he's ascended, like I said, as he is, all of your opponent's heroes automatically get minus 15 speed. Like for nothing. It doesn't require focus. It's not a debuff. You can't remove it. It's just there. it's pretty nuts. On top of that, I missed this. Whenever he gets attacked, he puts speed down on the person who attacked him, and you don't need focus for that. Like, already, this trait is nuts, right? And when Nero was introduced, he was actually the first character that had this like scale on defense line, and you'll see it here in his basic in a second. But for a while, the community didn't really know what that meant. They were like, oh, well, he has really high attack. Am I supposed to just build him pure defense? And, we were a little confused. But in the end, we found out that you want high attack, but you also need some pretty high defense to get that maximization of the scaling of damage. So you're going to want to mix, and I'll show you here in my build, but in a second. So his basic ability deals 110% damage to an enemy, and then it gains immune, right? And like I said, it scales with his defense. So putting up immunity so he can't be, have any kind of debuffs put on him, defense down, attack down, which can hurt his damage, or what's more likely what your opponent wants to do is stun him or taunt him so he doesn't do as much damage from his 2 other AoE abilities. But this basic ability hits really hard. I've seen it hit for like 15,000, 20,000 damage. It's pretty nuts. And on top of that, just having the immune put up as well is a really good basic. He then has this special ability which increases the duration of all the negative effects on the main target. This also doesn't need focus. It's kind of just a nice to have. It's not something that you plan around. It's just there for the damage. And even though this says 90%, because it scales off his defense, trust me, this hits a lot harder than it would put on here with this multiplier. And then his ultimate ability deals 100% damage to all enemies, scales off of his defense like all of his other attacks, and then applies this Frosty Cut, which is just unhealable, but only at 50%. where unhealable is 100%, where if they heal, they don't get anything. They'll get a little bit of the effect. But it's unremovable, and it can't be resisted. So you don't have to build him with any focus, and he still puts up unhealable, which is pretty relevant to some of, specific heroes in RTA or Arena. So don't sleep on that effect. And like I said in the other attacks, his other abilities, this 100% multiplier is deceiving. This hits very, very hard. So that's his, skill kit. So I have him built in Dragon Scale and Warrior. I do think these are pretty good pieces. Shoot, I should show that. Sorry. So here's his weapon. Some attack percentage, crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, crit rate, some health. I do want him to, be able to sustain a little bit, not just all damage and crit damage. Attack percentage, crit rate, pretty good crit damage roll there. Here I went attack boots with some defense percentage, and some of this stuff isn't even glyphed, so I can get a little bit more damage out of them. But defense rolls on attack percentage is usually something you hate to see, but great pieces for Nero. I have this ring, which isn't fantastic, but it does have a lot of things that I like, so I'm going with it just to complete the Dragon Scale kind of foursome piece here. And then I went with a defense percentage necklace because it's a pretty good necklace. It's got nice rolls on the crit damage, some attack percentage, and some health. So I went with that, and that's how I got to the stats that I have, which are right here. So decent attack, okay defense, some nice crit damage, and he's just really slow. Even if he gets like taunted or something like that, attack down, defense down, it's not great, but his basic ability can still hit really hard. And even if he has one of the two, of attack down or defense down, if he has both, he's not going to do any damage. But if he has one of them, he's still going to hit pretty hard. So he's usually going last in my team, and if he goes, it's just going to be a wrecking ball. So there are a couple other ways to build him. I think the other kind of endgame build is an Avarice. Right? He's got 2 AoE abilities. They're going to hit really hard, especially with the additional 50% damage from Avarice. This is kind of a mock build that I would have. I think ideally you do want some more defense on here. You want it to be in that 3,000 range. Like, this is a good balance, in my opinion. But I don't have any good defense percentage boots or necklaces in Avarice. So that's kind of what I would run him with if I was running him in Avarice. I will say, if you are running Nero in Guild versus Environment, any kind of PvE content, don't run him in Dragon Scale because you'll get zero benefit out of it, right? The computer enemies never do crit damage, so you'll never get reduction on the damage from Dragon Scale. So you're better off running stuff like Avarice. So he'll deal a lot of damage with Avarice, but he will not be as tanky. On top of that, you don't have to just run him in those 2 sets. If you're a newer player and you have Nero, a Warrior set is completely fine. Just give him attack. I know there are plenty of people out there that have Warrior gear that has defense percentage on it, and they just hate seeing something like this. But attack percentage boots with defense percentage rolls is it's amazing for Nero, right? You can slap this stuff on him and he'll do really good damage. So Warrior's an okay set. I've seen some people run him in Raider. They've run him really fast and with the highest attack in their team. So if the opponent brings an Aurea, which is that dark epic hero that taunts people if they're the fastest, they'll put Nero at the front of the line, so he's the fastest and the strongest. And what he'll do is he'll eat up her taunt, use his basic ability, and then put up immunity on himself so he can't be controlled, by the rest of their team. So I've never used that build, but it's been used against me and it caught me off guard once or twice, and I think it helped the opponent win there. Vanguard, also a decent set to put on him. The defense set, if you're, newer player and you're only completing like the Tulpa dungeon, that's completely fine. Assassin set is also okay. He's going to do a lot of damage on his basic ability. If he's the slowest, people are taunting him. Stuff like that. That's fine. Or Rebel as well. He has 2 AoE abilities, so anytime you can slap a stun set on somebody to take advantage of that, that's great. It's going to be really good for Void Tower Hard. All of those things. So a bunch of different ways you can build Nero. If you're endgame kind of arena, I think Dragon Scale or Avarice is probably the way to go, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, and I'm just some peasant who's making videos for you guys, so take it with a grain of salt. So let's see here. Let's jump into. Sorry, we're at reset here. Let's jump into arena. Ay. And I'll show you kind of just some people that he pairs up with, So Nero, because he wants high attack and he scales damage off of his defense, someone like Brand is a really great character to pair him with. Especially because Brand can cleanse some of the debuffs that Nero might have been put on him before he went. That's a really nice person to pair with. On top of that, another kind of free-to-play character is this guy, Joseph. So Joseph has a cool ability where he gets 20% speed. He can be so fast, so he can go at the front of the line to go, and he also does attack up and defense up. It's a smaller buff than what Brand gives, but if you don't have Brand, Joseph is also a nice addition, because if Nero has any kind of debuffs, he can actually remove them and then give Nero a bonus turn. So he'll be doing, his 2 big AoE attacks. So that's nice. And then pairing Nero with somebody even like Halia or any of your speed boosters, like Windstrex, if your opponent is faster than you, bring in Nero. Give them that 15 reduced speed if you have him A5. I know there's plenty of people watching this, like, who the heck does this guy think I am? Having ascended 5 legendary heroes. But some people do, Some people do. So I got to throw it out there. So yeah, that's a couple different ways to make him strong. And then I can't forget to include Hakron. So Hakron is a synthesis hero that you can synthesize just by combining a bunch of different elites. And Hakron's trait gives this bonus defense equal to 20% of his defense just off the bat. So I have mine pretty tanky at 5,000. I'm going to bring him in here, and we're just going to try and survive these attacks. We're just going to be huge tank team, right? I just made a video on Jonathan on how good he is. I haven't made a video on these people, but now we got Nero. If you're ever worried about people outspeeding you, bring in this tank team. Nero is your damage dealer, and you don't need the speed then, right? I'm gonna bring in a different spell. whatever, just in case, we need to use it. And we'll go from here. So as I've mentioned, in the past, Baron is an extremely hard-hitting champion. She's just getting this damage up, attack up. So Jonathan's helping us, doing damage to Nero. So Nero just took those 2 big nukes from Baron, and he only lost 3,000 health. And he has that defense up boost, from his Frostguard ability on his trait. So now Brand is going to give him attack up and defense up. This character is actually really good, this water character that just went, but because it's the computer operating it, it's not very great. So Jonathan goes, puts up all the debuffs, and then we have this big nuke by Nero. So he weak hit against the 2 grass wood champions here, but he doesn't have extremely high precision. I usually have other people to take care of these grass heroes. But anyway, the whole point of this build of Nero that I'm showing you is not for huge amounts of damage. It's for him to always be a threat, be there, not take a lot of damage from these big hitters, and then just be able to still, crush, which is what he's doing. So finally took them out, didn't weak hit there. And then we'll just finish off this Hyam. So that was supposed to be a big nuke by Hyam, and because of the HP increase buffed by Hakron, Nero's now even higher HP. So yeah, that's a tank team that you have 3 bruiser champions. Hakron does a lot of damage on his A2, right, his second attack. Jonathan does damage based on his max health, which we've went over. And then Nero is doing damage scaling off of his defense as well. So we've shown this team, this defense against this team, a similar team with Jonathan in the Jonathan video, but we'll show it again here. Because we know this Baron is extremely strong. Yep, so this Baron, it just tickled this team, right? Usually tank teams like this, they're not a threat because they don't have a damage dealer. But if you have Nero can be your damage dealer. So Aurea here, threw up that taunt, but because Nero's basic ability hits so hard, he took her out in 1 shot. It's pretty nuts. Pretty crazy stuff. So anyway, we're just making our people stronger here, giving us more HP, right? Our Nero's sitting at 16,000, so he took 8,000 so far. So 33% off of their biggest damage dealer. Now, Jonathan's also obviously helping this team survive with those shields, but Nero he doesn't take any damage in Dragon Scale against these heroes that are built for crit damage, right? So we're finally going to get to go with our team here after our opponent has had a bunch of turns. Nero's going to go. Didn't weak hit. He hit extremely hard against our opponent's Nero. And just clean up. Sorry, I should have used Hakron's second attack, but whatever. We're finishing it up here. So there you go. That is a tank team, right? So that is like a go slow team. Jonathan and Nero and Hakron should be fairly free to play. Like I said, that those seasonal heroes, you can get them on your second legendary on that pull guaranteed. And then on top of that, another thing that Nero is good at. So this team, they're probably using a fast Windstrex and a fast Tia to control your team. But because of Nero's trait, he's going to reduce their speed by 15. What that means is, what kind of flexibility Nero gives you is you can just bring in like semi-fast, hard-hitting damage dealers to snipe, these characters before they get a chance to go. So that's what we're going to do. Like I said, it's not a debuff. It's not something that can be resisted or removed. So right now, this Windstrex, I don't know. It might be slow, but our Levi has like 274 speed. But with Nero, it's like he has 300 speed. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. So we'll take that out and then just kind of clean up this team here. Let's do this maybe. And then Jabez. And then, his Brand the Brilliant will go. And then we'll clean him up. So that's the flexibility Nero gives you there. And then on top of that, if you want to bring in, someone that deals with pesky stun teams, or even taunt teams like this, you can bring in someone like Jocasta. I want to get a different. Wow, look at this defense. This is a strong defense. I don't I don't know if we can beat this. Let me get a new round. Rima is one of the higher end players in Arena. I think this is a good time to see what a tank team is capable of, right? So this character's broken, this character's broken, this character's broken, this character's broken. So let's just see if our tank team can hang on. See how long it holds on for, see if it has a chance. I don't know. Who are we looking for here? Brand. Yeah. Okay. Something like this. Let's see what we got here. And then we'll just end the video. Long story short, Nero is just a tanky character. Like, okay, Light Nick, huge damage. Holy Armor Vigil didn't go after him. Dark Valeria, huge damage. He's at full health. So that has something to do with Jonathan, but at the same time, Brand has taken some damage. Jonathan's taken some damage. Hakron has as well. Not Nero. He's on that dragon scale. He's got high defense. Like, he's a menace. So we're putting those debuffs down. This is like kind of a double-edged sword, because this Dark Nick, if he gets to go, he's going to nuke, and I guess it's going to be a good test for our team. But Nero, I was saying he's kind of a counter to one of the heroes in RTA. This is the counter he has against. He's strong against Holy Armor Vigil, because his Frosty Cut puts up that unblockable and unremovable healing, and Holy Armor Vigil heals every time he's hit. So it's kind of busted, but Nero is a counter to him. So here's that big nuke. Okay, kills Dark Valeria. And as you can see here, he puts up that unhealable. on him. Okay. Well, we did not stun Dark Nick, so let's see how hard this hits against our tank team. Still, nothing, right? I mean, we just have all this defense for our entire team. All of these huge damage dealers. Like, these are, like, top-tier damage dealers, and they're just doing nothing. Brand is going down, but he's not even built that strong. Yeah, so let's just keep, I guess, pecking away at Dark Nick here. And then finish off Holy Armor Vigil because he couldn't heal, right? Kill off the Dark Nick, and then it's just smooth sailing here. Yeah, this was good. This tank team worked out a little better than I thought. But all of these huge damage dealers went, right? And Nero took 2,000 damage. Oh, it's nuts. He's so good. He's so good. So yeah, I'm really liking Dragon Scale right now, just because of those things. And as you saw there, his basic ability did 17,000 damage. It's bonkers. So, guys, build this hero. Use him. Use him everywhere. He's usually my first pick. He's usually my first pick in RTA, just because he just brings so much flexibility. And I have a pretty good account, so I hope that tells you something. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. See ya.